This local sports report is brought to you by Allstate Insurance, a proud member of the Waterloo community, supporting youth athletics. For a free, no obligation quote for home and auto insurance, contact one of their trusted advisors. Call Allstate at 226-444-5549 to speak with your local Waterloo Allstate representative.
Shawn Dietrich just completed his 11th season with the Waterloo Wolves minor midget program, and you won't find anyone who invests more time and energy into his players as well as his team. He's here with us now to recap the OHL Draft from last weekend. You see 6 players from your team, the 2004 group, drafted into the OHL. Shawn, how gratifying is it for you? It never gets old seeing these kids go to the next level, does it?
No, it doesn't get old. And the nice part is because each year it is a fresh group of kids, and the excitement and the drive to build up to the draft day for all 18 players is huge. And that's why it's such a committed year for players. But, having 6 guys go, a third of our team, is very exciting for the players, for our coaching staff, and obviously the families of the players.
What was it about this group that made it so unique and so special, all led by your captain, Andy Reist, of course? I enjoyed being around this group, and I know, each team is different and has their own characteristics, but I know you really appreciated this group, the parent group, and everything that came with the 2014.
Yeah, the unique part about being 11 years coaching minor midget, every group is unique and they brought their special characteristics. But I felt the big thing for this group was we used all year how it was a brotherhood and a family, and it's easy to say, but we had 18 guys that were very tight in that room, and they stood up for each other. We had no animosity in the dressing room. Yes, you have your ups and downs and ebbs and flows in a season, but there was no time that we were worried about what our dressing room character was about. And I think that really speaks to how our playoffs went. Our offense dried up a little early, and the guys just stuck with it. There was no frustration level knowing that we'd get through it. So the character, and then everybody just loved each other. With the season being cut short, we stayed in touch. I text guys pretty much daily, and it was a really tight-knit group, and that comes right from the parent group.
What were some of the highlights for you? Like you said, unfortunately cut short, but that's the world that we live in right now. As you've had some opportunities over the past couple of weeks to maybe talk to some of the guys or talk to some of the parents, what are some of the highlights for you? I've asked this question of a lot of the players doing these draft interviews this week, but it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on just things that stand out for you.
Yeah, the highlights start right back last April in tryouts. The excitement of guys showing up. Mac Russell, when I told him he made the team, his excitement and smile was huge. It's not that he was shocked, but he was just so excited to be part of it. And then that carried over to our skates and our training this summer and the work ethic and seeing the guys' commitment, and that put an excitement to our staff. And then we get into training camp and some team building. And then that's really where it kind of looked at, okay, here's our excitement. And the highlight of doing our team events is, okay, we got a pretty special group. We didn't know how that's going to equal wins and losses. This group hasn't won in the past, and it was our job to make them believe we can do this. And then we went to our first tournament, and we reached the quarterfinals in Toronto. We lost to a very good Oshawa team, 6-3. They scored an empty netter. But it was after that game you could see our guys believe that we can take this to the next level. And I've said it a few times. And after that game, our next 25, we only lost 2 games. So that was kind of that was a highlight for me to see our guys kind of, the switch was flipped on, and then the belief was, okay, we can do this. And then that point on, it was like practices got better, the speed got better, the commitment was always there, but it's taken another level. My thing to my players is I will challenge them to outwork me. And this was a team that pushed me to work them harder after that belief. So that was a real highlight. And then us beating London, I know for that as a team, the guys were very excited. We ran into some sickness. We had a short lineup against Hamilton. All credit to Hamilton. They played really well. Unfortunately, we lose to them, but had a chance then to get to the OHL Cup against Huron-Perth. And Huron-Perth beat Waterloo out the last 3 years, and they swept them last year. So when we beat them, and the celebration in the dressing room was probably the biggest highlight, I said my post-game speech and walked out of there, and I let them be, because that was their moment of, hey, they qualified for OHL Cup, they beat a team that was their nemesis, and just the excitement, I just let them be. That was probably my biggest highlight.
Great stories there, Deets. Great stories. A lot of X's and O's teaching. You're a hockey coach at the end of the day. You're focusing on breakouts and you're focusing on power plays and special teams and all kinds of different things. What I want to ask you is about the other things that you're trying to teach these young men in their minor midget year. There's so many things that are part of the development. And yes, on ice is one of those things that you're trying to get them best prepared for whatever the next level is, whether it be the OHL or not. But I know that you key in as well on things like accountability and different things like that. Can you speak to that side of it and what you're trying to teach that way?
Yeah, I talked to a pro hockey player in this past year, and he said, X's and O's, there's only so much coaches can draw up, and there's only so many ways you can break out and so many different power play setups. And the key is you got to get your team working harder than the other team. And that's always been a kind of mantra with me anyways, but that one really kind of hit home. We simplified it, gave them systems, but preparing them to outwork the other team. The other thing we talk about so much as part of the accountability is professionalism. So it is showing up on time. It is when you're there, you're tuned in. It's not being on your cell phones in meetings. We had a thing where if our meeting's at 7:00, that means you're there at 6:55. The really professionalism, because that has something to do with your hockey dressing room, but it has to do with the work world, showing up on time. And so professionalism was big for me. And then the accountability was just a commitment to the guy sitting beside you and across from you. So if you're expecting them to have your back and you need to have theirs, but you can't take a day off. And I thought this group really held each other accountable, and it made our job as a staff easier that we didn't have to go at them. They internally policed their work ethic. So those are types of things that, if a kid is going to an OHL camp or going to be on a junior B team or major midget, we want them next year to show up being the hardest working guy, be professional, and the on-ice stuff then takes care of itself.
Another name I want to bring up is your goaltender, 2003 goaltender, Marshall Nichols. He goes in the U18 OHL draft on Wednesday. I've gotten to know Marshall a little bit over the years, and he's such a good kid, hardworking kid, and I was so happy for him to see that he got drafted into the OHL, got passed over in his minor midget year, but had a great year this year working with Corey Prang and the major midget Wolves. Speak to Marshall Nichols. I know, he's a kid that you've got a good relationship with as well, and you couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, goalies are different in OHL drafts in their minor midget year because sometimes they develop later. Obviously, it's tough for a 16-year-old goalie to make a roster. Maybe they hold on and doesn't get drafted as minor midget year, kind of like Marshall did. But as I alluded to when I post on social media, he was a huge part, if not the main reason why we got to the OHL Cup last year. And he could have easily been drafted last year, but it was great to see him go in the U18 draft. And I sent him a good luck in the morning when he got selected by Erie. I sent him a text and said, buddy, it was well deserved. So, yeah, and we always say once you're part of our program, you're always part of our families. I made sure to reach out just like I reached out to my guys.
Last one I want to ask you about is just the support network that you get from the Waterloo Minor Hockey Association, President Hans Roach, Greg Best, just to name a couple of people that I know help you put this whole thing together and help put together what was another successful season for the Waterloo Wolves minor midget program. Can you speak to how they help you? You're the leader of the ship when it comes to the minor midget team, but you can't do it as well without the support from others.
100%. No, the executive, all Waterloo Minor Hockey, has been very supportive from 11 years ago when we started this, and I had a vision of what we wanted the program to be, and I've kind of surpassed that, and I keep pushing to make this better and better for families and players. And Hans Roach, Greg Rest, Tim Robb, who's our AAA director, Pete Carr, who's our equipment guy, our ice scheduler. I can go on and on. They do a really good job in supporting me. And the reason I say support is they're involved, but they don't get over involved. And we have a plan together and they can see it working. And they are there as a support mechanism. Plus, if we do need something, they're there for us. And I know you've seen them at the rinks too for all our games. They will be, either down in the hallway saying hi to the guys or up in the stands supporting. Very big supporters, not just our program, Waterloo Minor Hockey in general, but having leadership like that, it helps immensely. From players, families, and my coaching staff, we are fully supported by them.
Yeah, it was great to see 6 players from your 2004 team and Marshall Nichols get drafted. Congratulations, Shawn, on another great year. We look forward to year 12 with the Waterloo Wolves minor midget team.
Yeah, and just one last thing, Darren. Thank you to yourself and 519 for coverage for a long time here since you started, but this year, especially, I know our guys really were engaged with it, and it's been very helpful. I know they follow you and retweet things and such, and the families do as well. But and also during this time, I mean, it was easy in the past to run down to the Rim Park and do interviews, or but with the way the world is right now, this is great to have this support from you guys as 519 yourself. These interviews are important for the families and the kids of be seeing that. I know you wonder how draft day was going to go, but nothing's changed. I mean, the coverage of this has been the same as it was in the past. And other than, yes, it's through technology, but thank you very much for the support.
Appreciate the time, Shawn. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
For more highlights, visit our website, 519sportsonline.ca. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.